Hey everyone, Mark and Joey here on a Tuesday morning, a nice day here in Ontario, Canada. For those of you new to the show, either on our video side or our audio side, welcome. This is where we live. And we do want to talk just before we get going about the expansion of the show. And for those of you who heard it the last couple of days, just fast forward and get past it. But we do need to tell people that, we have been doing video through Roku TV, where we started, Vimeo.com, NGSCsports.com, of course, YouTube and LinkedIn and Twitter, the traditional social medias. But we are now launching an audio podcast, I guess is what it's called. And we are going to be on more stations now, so you can download the show. You can listen to it live from a number of different operations, maybe on the way to work, on the way home from work. You don't want to download that video. You don't want to use data. And now you can listen to us. So where are we going to be, Joe?
So we are going to be on Apple, Spotify, Google, Acast, TuneIn, Sticker, Pocket Cast.
So search Ultimate Sports Channel when you go to those particular podcast channels, and we're looking forward to being there. Looking forward to be able to talk to more fans and the continued growth of our podcast here. So really excited about that. And today we're really excited because we're talking about a bunch of, I don't want to be too harsh, crazy fans in Toronto. I mean, Leonard getting a statue or retiring his jersey, are we kidding?
Yeah, it'd be absolutely pathetic and desperate as far as I'm concerned. The guy didn't even stay with you. I mean, if he stayed with you and this is 5 years down the road, then maybe. But I mean,
those are career things, not one and done.
Yeah, not one and dones, and ultimately went to the LA Clippers, which he said he was going to do. So I hope they don't do it. I'd rather see a Lowry jersey retired because he's actually dedicated years to our city.
Once he retires, that would make sense.
Once he retires, that makes sense. But this would be a desperate act and pretty pathetic. And I don't even think he would respect it, if I'm being 100% honest. I don't think if you asked him, I think he'd say that's like a little much. So I hope they don't do it, but it's been talked about. I think now people have kind of come to their senses that this is ridiculous. But, who knows what they might do. Guys, teams are insane sometimes.
Well, I got to give, it's fans that are crazy. I know we waited 25 years to win one, but you know what? This is nuts. These things are left for stars in your city that have been there for a long, long time. And heroes that win 4 championships.
And that's my point with Lowry, is even though it took quite a win, he built the team. The reason why they're any good at all is because he stayed. And then DeMar stayed, which made other guys come in, like Serge Ibaka and guys like that, and then allowed you to draft young guys, and then those guys learned from those guys. So they're really the foundation of the team, and then Kawhi came over and took it over and put us to the next level.
Right.
So Lowry deserves a statue. Honestly, not a statue. Sorry, no one deserves a statue. He deserves his jersey retired as far as I'm concerned, but no one deserves a statue. If I was going to do anything, though, I'd take Masai Ujiri's jacket and hang that in the Rafters. If you want to do anything, take his suit jacket and rise that to the Raptors, because he made all these trades, made all this happen, and is really the unsung hero because he's an executive of this team. But he ultimately got the guys, DeRozan and Lowry, first of all, drafted DeRozan. He didn't draft DeRozan, but he kept him around. He went out and got Lowry in a trade, got Ibaka in a trade, developed Siakam,
subtle trades,
developed Van Fleet. Signing these undrafted free agents isn't easy, and he went out and got all these guys. So I'm telling you, if I'm doing anything, I'm taking a suit jacket and putting Masai Ujiri on the back and raising that to the Raptors.
Executive of the year.
Because ultimately, he's made every right move in order for us to get this championship, which included trading our best player and getting Kawhi.
And right up to the other day when he turned down the deal that could have kept Kawhi.
Yeah.
But you know what? The guy's a smart guy.
The guy's smart.
We're just guys on the sidelines here talking about it. He knows what he's doing. They have an evaluation of their team, and so it might still be the right move. But he has to be executive of the year. I mean, I don't even know if that voting's happened yet.
It's already over. Yeah, he didn't win.
He did win. That's unbelievable. He didn't win. He should have won. And I would agree with you. If you're gonna hang something from the Raptors, he's the one who made it happen. You never really revere a guy who was a rental player. He was a rental player from the time he came in. And he left just like we expected he would. So that's ridiculous. But that's fans. They're so excited about winning the championship. And it's okay, I guess, to talk about it, but it's so ridiculous. But anyway, even Leonard wouldn't respect it.
I don't think he would either.
I'll give Leonard credit for one thing. He's down to earth, and he says what he thinks. And he would think this was crazy. Well, he left to win more championships.
Right.
Because he realizes 2 championships is nothing, and with 2 different teams. I mean, you're going to build a statue. Michael Jordan's the guy you do that for. And, that kind of level of player. So, anyway, we just wanted to mention that it's out there. It's been ridiculous. I think it's dying off. What's interesting, here's what's interesting since we're talking about it. Kawhi's dying off. it's amazing to talk about him is gone. Even on the sports shows, they're talking about the new year. They're talking about the guys left on the team. It doesn't take long to be forgotten.
Well, I don't think it's forgotten. I think it's just now more about the team of the Clippers instead of individually, because he's not an individual anymore. When he's a free agent, he's an individual. He could have shaken up the league. Actually, he did shake up the league, but in a different way than we thought he'd shake up the league. Because he's made it pretty balanced now out there in the West and very difficult. And going forward, it'd be interesting to see who dominates the East, but it could be very easy for a team.
Speaking of that, who do we now think is going to win? I mean, the odds are out there, but who do we really think is going to win?
I think the Clippers are a little overhyped. I think at the end of the day, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard are amazing two players. They're amazingly defensive. People don't know what that's going to be like to go up against.
There could be some 75-point games.
When they play a bad team, if they ever tried against a bad team, they wouldn't, because they probably don't play much of those games. But they could easily hold a bad team to 70 points. I mean, defensively, they're a juggernaut, those two players. And on the offensive, they're not too shabby either. I just don't think when push comes to shove that they're going to beat the Lakers. I mean, ultimately, they don't have what the Lakers have, which is a big man down low. It's very underestimated, Anthony Davis' talent and ability, because he was stuck in New Orleans where no one cared, and their arena's called like Juicy Fruit or something. I don't know. It's so stupid.
It's a big gum company, man. Worth billions.
I don't think that's what it's called, but it's stupid like that. Anyways, he got lost in New Orleans. People are forgetting how great he is. And now you look at LeBron with 6 months of rest. Ultimately, a brand new player where he's not going to have to do much of the work. Right. Part of the reason why they put him at point guard is to pass it more to Anthony Davis down low and draw attention. It's going to be difficult to beat that style of team. What you got to remember is Paul George and Kawhi Leonard are basically the same player in the same position. So it doesn't give him anybody big down low. They're not a point guard. Now, Kawhi, I feel like, could easily handle the ball enough that he could be point guard, even playing out of the two-hole. They got Patrick Beverly, who's a great defender, too. They got Lou Williams off the bench. I like their team. I just think when push comes to shove, I think LA's done a good job of surrounding himself. You got Danny Green in there, Jared Dudley, some veteran guys that know a role, that have a role, can live up to it. I think it's going to be and Kyle Kuzma, who's a good young player, refused to get rid of him for all these trades, so they believe in him. And I just feel like ultimately, I just don't think you're going to beat Anthony Davis down low enough in order to stop LeBron and AD when push comes to shove come playoff time. But it's going to be a great battle out in LA. But I would still put my money on anybody. I'm putting on the Lakers to win
I'm in shock.
I know.
Houston's your team. I can't believe you don't think they're going to get by them.
Well, Houston, here's what I'm going to say. Houston is a I need to hear that they get along a little bit, but if they ever got chemistry together, they're still... I'm talking about... I got caught up in the LA versus LA matchup. You did this to me.
Yeah, sorry for that.
I am a Houston guy.
No,
you got into my head about
there might be an OKC-Houston trade. What does that do?
I don't think Westbrook's going to go to Houston anymore. I think he's going to go to Miami, which, by the way, new favorites in the East if he does. Yeah. I'd predict them to go out of the East to the finals. Sorry, but I was caught up in the LA matchup. That's all everyone's been talking about. Houston, I always said, was my team because I like James Harden, I like Chris Paul, and I like their surrounding players. I think if they ever found some chemistry and learned that James Harden, you can't shoot the ball 80 times in a playoff game and try to win, they can easily get there because the one team in their way was Golden State. But out of the LA matchup, I think I'd put my money on LA Lakers over the Clippers, which then would be a Western Conference final of Houston and LA Lakers as far as I'm concerned. But ultimately, to be honest with you, in my mind, come NBA Finals times, your best chance is an Eastern Conference team. You gotta think it's probably an easier road. And when they get to the finals, how banged up are these teams? The West is so competitive now. You got Houston, LA Lakers, LA Clippers, Golden State. I think is not done, guys. They got D'Angelo Russell. You have Portland Trailblazers made a Western Conference Finals. Now I know people think they're gonna be done because of what these other teams have done, but a tough series, sure, why not? A 6-gamer, why not? Could Milwaukee easily run through the East until they get to the finals, the Eastern Conference Finals? Definitely. Those first 2 rounds, in theory, should be pretty easy for them. Or a Philly should be pretty easy for them. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens in the East. But if Westbrook goes there, wow. I don't even know where to go from there. Yeah. Well, the great thing that
we'll have
NBA...
to update.
Well, yeah, we'll have to update. But also, if he did that, the greatest thing would be is that look at that balance in the league. We complained about there's no balance in the league. Yeah. You have 2 juggernauts in the East. 3, maybe 4 juggernauts.
The last 5 years you've been talking about Warriors going every year, and before LeBron left Cleveland, it was Cleveland.
Now you got 3 on your side.
Now it's all over the place, which is exciting. I'm in the East, like you just mentioned, but I'm shocked that you were just throwing the Raptors under the rug.
I don't think they have
I
enough
am
star
shocked
power,
because here's what's going to happen. There's all these teams, all those balances you talk about. That means they can't all be there in the playoffs. They can't all be there in the finals. I think the Raptors are going to make an unbelievable trade right before the trade deadline. They're going to be somewhere in third, fourth in the season, but are going to make a huge trade near the trade deadline that will take them on to represent in the East. I believe the Raptors will repeat. I think they're going to go into the West. I think you made a great point. The West is going to be beaten up this year. That's not been the case in the past. Warriors have just sailed right through the league. You know, usually Houston's had a pretty easy road.
Yeah.
I agree. And you've got an injury-prone division there with a lot of players.
The whole conference.
Like right now, as far as I'm concerned, throw the Clippers out. People might say what they want. I think both of these guys will be injured during the season.
They get injured a lot, yeah.
Now, the difference was, and this is why I still think the Raptors with a trade, now I'm caveat with that is with a trade, but Majuri's a genius at this, so I believe it'll happen. You know, they were, I think the last I saw it was actually 18-5. So 23 games last year without Leonard. I saw that in the news. And they won 18 of the last 5. This is not a team that was only a Leonard team. There's no doubt. The guy's unbelievable. He played unbelievable playoffs. However, in the playoffs, how many times did he sit on the bench? And that team went out and either kept the game even or actually took a lead while he was on the bench. This is not a team that was a one-man show. Not by any means. This is a young team on top of that with a years of playoff and a championship experience. Going back into the regular season with that team without Leonard is no pushover in my mind. Anyway, I'm picking the Raptors to repeat with a trade. I believe they'll make it. I don't think they can make it otherwise. But I believe that Najuri will make the right trade. But, you know, the deadline, as far as I'm concerned, you and I have talked about this before, throw all the picks you want at them. Who cares? True, yeah. It's about getting why you can get it. And right now we have already a young team. We've got to be one of the youngest teams in the league still.
We are pretty young.
So I think they've got that shot. I think the West, I think you were right on, is going to battle each other all season, going to actually be tired.
That's what I think.
That's not happening past. Warriors for the last 5 years have just walked right into the final, but no big deal. Not the case. The Warriors are going to be tough, but not tough enough. Obviously, I believe Clippers are going to run into injury problems. I believe the Lakers just aren't going to be good enough. I think LeBron is going to decline quickly.
Yeah.
I go with Max Kellerman on Tom Brady. Eventually, you fall off a cliff. Well, now, I don't know if that happens as much in basketball as it does in football, and Brady certainly beat him up on that
just beat his 40-yard dash.
But anyway, so I'm thinking that you're going to see that there. I actually fear Houston more, like you mentioned. I think it's a team that's underused their talent, has had the challenges. If they can put it together, it's an unbelievable team. We all got to throw it all aside because depending on where Westbrook goes, that could change all those decisions.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Westbrook doesn't change the West if he goes to a Western Conference team. He really only changes the East. He's not impactful enough, in my mind, the West. You flip him for Chris Paul, that's just a mess in Houston as far as I'm concerned. But in my mind, that wouldn't make him any better or worse.
And they got to give up something to get him.
Yeah, well, it would be Chris Paul probably. It would just be a swap of point guards and some picks for OKC to go with it. I see him trading them east. I see him going to Detroit or Miami or top contenders for Westbrook, which would dramatically change the Eastern Conference, where you can easily dominate more. I said this before. I always think the Western Conference is now in the toughest spot. That's why I couldn't believe Kawhi went there. First of all, Kawhi's a banged up guy. He's injured almost every year. Even this year, he said he almost didn't make it through the year if it wasn't for load management. But he was badly injured. You could see him. He looked horrible in press conference. Paul George is injured all the time. LeBron has now had an injury that easily comes back up in the groin and quad area. He never had before. Now, I think he's going to be easier to get through the season because of Anthony Davis. So, can Anthony Davis' body take it? I think he can. Never had really any injury problems. He's a big man down low, doesn't do a lot of running.
But I don't think they got the magical third piece.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Hold on.
You do have Danny Green, you have Kyle Kuzma. When you look at Houston, the reason why, we kind of agree is they should be healthy because James Harden controls most of the ball throughout the regular season. A lot of guys don't have to work that hard. Come playoff time, they now get to put in the work. But they need to know how to spread the ball when come playoff time because teams have been able to pick apart James Harden. We'll see. But the East will win the title.
What's the one thing you have to do when you've gotten there so many times and not advanced? You need to fire the coach. Because if you can't take that talent and get there, you remember Pittsburgh Penguins in hockey, right? I mean, they went to the playoffs every year as the number one team. It took a new coach to win 2 Stanley Cups in a row. When a team with the talent of Houston cannot get past these rounds and not get to the finals, the coach is the problem. The talent's there. He is not putting that team together. That's the coach's job. I would say that they need to make a coaching move if they're going to get to the top. We'll see where that happens during the season. The unfortunate part is they're going to win lots of games this season, so it doesn't get the crowd yelling for a new coach. But I believe that's the difference.
He has a 1-year deal left. He turned down a contract extension. Actually, the coach did himself. So obviously he's seen some issues there
They can afford to pay a coach.
So I think they're going to keep him. Mike D'Antoni's a really credible coach. I think they'll keep him for this year. And basically now that Golden State's out of their way, the ownership's kind of going with the Raptors with LeBron out of their way in the East all those years. Hey, Golden State's out of their way. Yeah, there might be new teams, but the team that had your Achilles heel is gone. So get past these other teams. It's your job. It's what you got to do. I think Houston has an advantage here by health standpoint, by the fact that James Harden carries the load a lot through the regular season, but they're not drivers to the net. They're not dunkers. Those are the guys that get hurt. Kevin Durant, wasn't necessarily actually going to for him, it was just jumping up and down.
Yeah.
But he was tall and lanky. James Harden's actually, if anything, a little overweight, so he's kind of more stocky. He doesn't get hurt by shooting threes all the time. They don't have guys who are going to go to the hoop like Kawhi. In my mind, I love the dunks, I love the layups, I love going to the free throw line, but I think that's what brings injuries. I think that's what brought LeBron injuries and all these guys. James Harden's a perimeter shooter. Pretty simple as that. He doesn't really go up for dunks. He doesn't really battle hard to get to the free throw line. I think Houston has a good advantage in the West. But regardless, I think a team from the East is winning the title. I don't care who gets through the West. Whether it's the Lakers, whether it's the Rockets, whether it's the Clippers, the East is getting
Let's stop talking. Let's get down to it because, I already told people to bet the Raptors at 10-1. Bet them at 7-1. I don't even know what they are now. 15-1. I haven't even looked.
Win the title? They're 88-1.
They're 88-1 to win a title. Yeah. Jump on that. I'm telling you, the jury will make something happen. The guy's a genius. He did it in Denver when he went there, built that team, came here, built that team, got a championship. I truly believe he's going to make a key move. But I got to tell you, with the guys we had around Leonard, nobody gives him credit because Leonard won the MVP, blah, blah, blah. Siakam is going to turn into a dominant player in this league. There's just no... Van Vliet is a great shooter. We've got Lowry again to lead and quarterback this team. I just think there's enough there and one trade near the deadline. Right now, you were talking about the balance in the league, and I agree with you. But what does balance also do? It makes teams realize they're not going to win the championship right around trade deadline, and they might start to look to move to get draft picks. Not all these teams are going to perform at the top of their game.
I mean, there's a lot of question marks though for the Raptors.
That's where I'm going to be, is put it in there, 88-1, if that's what it is. I'm going to bet it today. That's crazy. And who do you put it in there with? I'm going with you. I'm really going with you. I think Houston actually has a stable lineup that doesn't have to take any time to find itself and be in the rhythm. They haven't had really big injury problems. They took the Warriors to 7 games only 2 years ago and really should have been better against them this year. But the Warriors are, like you say, LeBron, are that kind of Achilles heel. I think Houston's got enough tools in a playoff series to beat anybody in the West. So Raptors, Houston in the final, Raptors to win it. One caveat is, where does Westbrook go? That could change our thoughts.
If Westbrook goes to Miami,
right now I see that.
I think what NBA has proven is stars win. You never win without stars. That's my thing about the Raptors is we have potential stars. So there's just too many question marks for me.
We're going to get a trade for the stars. Remember, I say that.
Van Fleet could be a star. Siakam could be a star. Powell could come on to be a star. More Siakam and Van Fleet. I don't think Powell's a star. I think he's always a bench guy.
We already have an all-star in Lowry. So
you got Lowry, you got Ibaka, you got Gasol. It's a good lineup, but you got to go get a star as far as I'm concerned. What cost is that going to bring? I don't know if picks will be enough, but also who's that going to be? Now, all the stars are wrapped up with 4-year deals. I don't know who's left, to be honest with you, that I would say is a difference maker. It's the Raptors, but
listen,
we'll see. I'm not done yet.
These executives do crazy things.
We'll see what happens at the deadline. There's a lot of question marks. What I do know, and what everyone knows,
you didn't mention Gasol, by the way.
I did mention Gasol.
Did you?
Yep. Is the Greek Freak is in Milwaukee with the exact same team. If anything, they've added a couple other players, including his brother. By the way, it'll be interesting to see how good his brother is. You have Philly, who got better, got rid of Jimmy Butler, who's a cancer in the dressing room, has all the same guys, added Al Horford, kept Tobias Harris, and and lost J.J. Redick. I don't really care about that. Indiana just got immensely better with Ricky Rubio. Victor Oladipo will be back and healthy come playoff time, and they were really good this season. You got Brooklyn with Kyrie and DeAndre Jordan. I don't think they're getting past first round. Might cause some problems. You got Boston, who has the same team that took LeBron James to 7 games, minus Terry Rozier, plus Kemba Walker. So I'm just saying, like the West, it's just too many battles going on to think that a team with a starless team, unless Siakam ends up being the next Kawhi Leonard, technically a starless team, because no offense to Lowry, he's an all-star, but he's not the star. You got too many big names in the Eastern Conference now that in a 7-game series, the Greek Freak can win a game on his own. Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid can win games on their own. I think Victor Oladipo and Ricky Rubio can win a game on their own. I don't have a guy on the Raptors yet that can win a game on their own, meaning take the ball and do what Leonard did, which was the end of one of the quarters. He went 15-2 by himself. I just don't see it. I think it's very difficult. My pick is Philadelphia to get to the finals, which, by the way, would be huge for that city as much as it is for our city this year.
They just won a Super Bowl. Come on.
I say Philly gets to the NBA Finals, and I think they play the Houston Rockets or the LA Lakers. I don't really care. But I think Philly wins the title in the Eastern Conference. I think it's Philly and Milwaukee in the Eastern Conference Final, which is an obvious pick. But I think Philly's too good. They kept all the young guns. They got better as far as I'm concerned. Their coach earned their trust last year. They were a bounce away from going to overtime with the Raptors in Game 7. They have the star power. No, but it has the star power. I think they can guard the Greek Freak. I don't think Toronto can guard the Greek Freak.
Well, I think you're right about that, except for the fact that it's way different regular season than playoffs. I believe the Raptors, with this experience they've just had, and one player. Remember, I'm saying one player, which I think they'll get, and I think that's going to be the difference. Great strategy in the playoffs, being able to make it operate as a team as opposed to a single player operation. I think that's what's going to happen. Obviously, we're going to get a chance to look at this again before the season starts. This is pre-betting. I love the Raptors at 88-1, by the way.
But go bet Miami Heat, because if they get Russell Westbrook, the odds will tumble down.
Yeah.
Go bet them right now.
Not a bad backup bet. You're right.
Go bet them right now, because if they get Westbrook, I tell you, Miles Leonard, Russell Westbrook, Jimmy Butler, they're going to go on to the title.
Well, for sure the odds will drop huge.
Yeah.
Whatever they are today, they'll drop huge. So anyway, this is a little bit of pre-betting. We're going to do that for sure. This is when you get the big odds. This is how guys make big money, is by picking the right team in the preseason and earlier than the preseason, where you see Raptors at 88-1 before they get the big trade I'm forecasting.
I think another long shot bet is New Orleans Pelicans make the playoffs, I think.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, it's going to be young, but a lot of talent there, and you don't have to do much to make the playoffs. Not like baseball where you're going to finish top 5 or 6 teams. I mean, there you can top 16 out of 30. So how hard can it be? But anyway, we're looking forward to it. We're talking about it again. There was one other thing on basketball we want to talk about.
Well, LeBron's going to be starting point guard. I kind of mentioned it earlier. I'm not too shocked about it. He basically did that in Cleveland, especially when Kyrie went down. So not shocking. I think they're just doing it so that him and AD can hook up more. He can be more of the passer. They don't want him to shoot. They don't want him to carry the load. I mean, he's too old to do that. So they want him to hold the ball so he draws attention and can pull up for threes or drive for layups, because point guards usually get the straight line because they're at the top of the three-point semicircle there.
He's also a great passer.
But he's a great passer, and he can pass to Danny Green, Kyle Kuzma, or AD. So I think that's why they're looking to give him the ball right off the inbound.
All right, NBA, as usual, in the news. So we'll be back if any more things come up. Next thing's going to be a Westbrook trade for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And we're all waiting for that. So we'll be back when that happens.